That reminds me, I was having a similar discussion one day with some group of people, and someone threw a question to me. He said, Larry, if you have desire to make more money like this, what is the difference between that and covetousness? And that was a very good question, and I will tell you the answer I gave to him. Have you ever wondered why most people struggle in business? They seem to be putting all effort but not making any financial progress. But in this video today, I'm going to share with you what I titled a master key to earning. You see, the reality is that very many people are geniuses, but for you to be seen as one, you must operate in your arena. Albert Einstein has this to say. He said, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, if you spend all his life thinking it's stupid. The problem is that everything you've learned about learning, we've learned that listening is learning, watching is learning, reading is learning. We've also learned that the purpose for learning is knowing. None of those things is the real purpose of learning. The real purpose of learning is mastery. And what is mastery? Mastery is the ability to execute effortlessly without the use of conscious resources. When you master a skill set or a mindset or a tool set, you are no longer a person doing the thing. You have become the person who can eventually do the thing. Now, take for example, you could be having a discussion with somebody and at the same time tying your shoelace. Now, you have mastered tying your shoelace that you don't need any conscious resourcefulness to make it happen. Mastery is to execute effortlessly without the use of conscious resources. Our doing is the output of the input of our being. Our having is the output of the input of our doings. Now, the truth is that every single human being is pushing to have. There's a reason why we are not called human having. We are human beings, but every single human being is pushing to have. We want to have more money, we want to have building, we want to have cars, name them. But the interesting thing to understand is that often at times we attempt to do something that we don't have the ability to do, but we actually have the potential to do them. There are a majority of people who have the potential to do a thing, but they don't have the ability to do the thing. Potential is simply the difference between who you are and who you could be. Potential is simply the difference between what you can do and what you could be able to do. Potential also is simply the difference between what you have and what you could be able to have if only you become qualified. Now, the most amazing and interesting thing for me to have known is that God set this thing from the beginning. The very first thing God told man in the book of Genesis was, said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. What does that mean? It simply means be, do, have. As in, you have to be so that you can do, so that you can have. Be, do, have. Just like be a little, do a little, and have a little. Be a lot, do a lot, and have a lot. So be, do, have. One of the amazing things that scripture made us to understand is that God knows the end from the beginning. So what I understand is that God programmed in us a desire to have our desire. It's just good to understand this. There is a desire in every human being programmed by God to have their desire. Your desire to have more money is God-given desire. Your desire to have good relationship is God-given desire. Your desire to have good home is God-given desire. Your desire to prosper, your desire to have your business do well is God-given desire. So God gave everyone the desire to have more. Why? So that we'll be willing to do the right thing in order to have more. He gave us a desire to have more and put the responsibility in everybody to do the thing. Now, if you look at this, it's like a good news and a bad news. Now, what's the good news? The good news is that there is almost nothing you can't learn. There is almost nothing anybody cannot learn. Almost nothing. You could learn to fly an aeroplane. You could learn different languages. You could learn how to play guitar even at an adult age. There is nothing anyone cannot learn. You can't learn everything, but you can learn more than you have learned. I can't learn everything. Why? Because I don't have enough hour to master everything. But the reality is that I can master more than I've been mastering. And the beautiful thing about mastering more is that it makes us more capable of mastery. Most time, when people hear me say God gave us the desire to make more money, they are like, Larry. Now, even in this my late 30s, I've been privileged and blessed by God to have some investment. I still desire to have more. Someone say, take it easy. No, you take it easy. If you ask me today, maybe you say, Larry, how much money do you want to make? My answer to you is going to be as much as I possibly can. Why? Because it makes sense to me. Okay, if you think the answer is not satisfactory to you, let me ask you this question. If a question like this is thrown to you, how long do you want to live? I am sure your answer is going to be as much as I possibly can. You are not going to say not too long, just long enough to be comfortable. Nobody will say that. Or again, you are asked, how smart do you want your children to be? Not too smart, just smart enough to be comfortable. You wouldn't say that. Or maybe you are asked, how healthy do you want to live? I don't want to live too healthy. I just want to be healthy enough to be comfortable. No one is going to give that answer. Then why would they ask you, how much do you want to make? You say, not too much, just enough to be comfortable. If you lie with that, you will definitely lie on every other stuff. That reminds me, I was having a similar discussion one day with some group of people, and someone threw a question to me. He said, Larry, if you have desire to make more money like this, what is the difference between that and covetousness? And that was a very good question, and I will tell you the answer I gave to him. And what I said, first I said, what is covetousness? Covetousness is the desire to have without the willingness to do the right thing. Now, your desire to have more money is not covetousness, but your desire to have more money without the willingness to work for it, that is covetousness. So God has an ordained way for you to have your desire. Now, your desire to have more is God-given desire. So you want to have more, you have to do more so you can eventually have more. So the good news is that there is nothing you cannot learn. You can't learn everything, but there is nothing you cannot learn. You can learn more than you have been learning. That's the good news. Now, the bad news. The bad news is that everybody, including me, including you, is already doing 100% of what they can do based on who they are right now. Now, the only way you can be doing more is to become more than you have been, so you can do more than you have been doing. That is why understanding this concept I'm trying to share with you is very important, because you cannot actually do more until you become a person who can do more. So what is the master key to earning? The master key to earning is actually learning. In fact, the difference between what you have and what you don't have is actually exactly the same distance between what you know and what you haven't learned and implemented yet. The gap is exactly the same. By the way, if you think you know, but you have not implemented it yet, have you actually learned it? The answer is no, because the primary purpose of learning is for mastery. Learning is the key to earning. Learning more is the key to earning more. Learning faster is the key to earning faster. That's how it works. Now, before I bring this video to an end, I would like to share with us just one principle that you must implement in your life if your desire is to earn more. And that principle is to understand that every transformation begins with awareness. Like, if you don't know it, you are not going to do it. There's a saying that says, you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you don't go. So this means that you have to learn the principles. That means master the principle that can help you to make money or create wealth effortlessly. Now, how do you know that you have mastered a principle? As an entrepreneur, when you effortlessly become rich or become wealthy over time, that means you are mastering the principle. I know this sounds zero wrong. How can you effortlessly become wealthy over time? Now, you effortlessly become rich or wealthy over time by becoming the person who can do the thing. Like the example I gave from the beginning of this video, you can effortlessly tie your shoe without the use of conscious resources. Now, the business you do as an entrepreneur, if you get to a stage where you can do that business effortlessly and get it running, that means you have mastered the business, because you can now run it without the use of conscious resources. So you have to become the person who can do the thing. Now, I have asked this question sometimes to some of my mentees. I said, what do you think that a tree is going to do to bear an apple fruit? Now, some answer it has to be planted and it has to be watered. But most importantly, it has to be an apple tree before it can bear an apple fruit. An apple tree does not have to try in order not to produce oranges. What you have to do to bear an apple fruit is just to be an apple tree. When you become a person who can do the thing that you are doing, you will definitely have the stuff which you desire to have. Now you have to understand that there is a gap between who you are and who you desire to be. And that gap is that all transformation begins with awareness. And that means you have to first become aware that there is more than you know that you should know. And don't be discouraged when you discover that the more you know, the less it feels that you know. Now, here is how it works. When it comes to anything you want to learn, it could be language, it could be skills, it could be business. Okay, let's say business for the purpose of this video. Business talking about sales, marketing, and branding. Now, when you get started in business, your knowledge base will be very small. If you take a person like Elon Musk to have a knowledge base that is as big as a whole building, but yours is not so, mine is not so. When I started business, my knowledge base was so small, very small. How small was it? It was so small that when I started business in 2013, after my higher institution, it took me about 8 months to 1 year before I made my first sales. Why? Because my knowledge base was so small. Now, the reality is that most people with a small knowledge base, they want to attempt something that requires a larger knowledge base with their small knowledge base. And when they try it, and if it didn't work, they will conclude that it's not working at all. But the problem is not that the thing is not working. The problem is that you are approaching something that requires a larger knowledge base with your small knowledge base, without first looking for a way to expand your knowledge base so that you can actually approach it in a way that will make it to work out for you. The truth is that all work works. If it's not working for me, it's working on me. And I will have to allow it to work on me so that I will eventually become the person with whom it can work for. Now, what I'm trying to explain to you does not have any scientific proven explanation, but it's just a way to make you understand what I'm trying to explain. Now, outside of our knowledge base, have some vacuum tubes. Now, your knowledge base doesn't even know that any other thing exists outside of it. There is no awareness of that fact. Now, that reminds me, one time I was rehearsing 3 times with my 4-year-old son. Now, after he mastered the 3 times, I said, okay, what are 4 times? Let's do the 4 times. He said, no, Daddy, there's nothing like 4 times. My auntie told us of 3 times, there's nothing like 4 times. You can imagine now, his knowledge base is too small. He does not recognize that there is something outside that knowledge base. So he does not recognize 4 times, 5 times, 6 times until you expose him to that. Now, you must first become aware that there is something you need to learn. Now, when you become aware and feed a little vacuum around your knowledge base, then it opens up for more receptors. It opens up for more idea receptor. Anytime your knowledge base becomes bigger, it opens up for more idea. Literally, the more you know, the less it feels that you know. The more you learn, the less it feels or it appears that you don't know anything. But don't let that discourage you. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing just because your knowledge base is getting more expanded and your idea receptor is opening more. So it will always feel that the more you are trying to learn, the more it feels that you don't know anything. Let that not discourage you. When you understand that that is how it works, it changes the game forever. So the first thing anyone has to do is that we must learn how to rely on principles. I must learn how to rely on principles. What are principles? Principles are, let's say, God ordination. What do I mean by that? There are principles God ordained that govern the universe and existence. Take, for example, the law of gravity is a principle that governs the universe. For example, when you throw something, for example, when you throw this bottle water up in the air, if you throw it 10 times, it's not going to fall 9 times and hang the 10 times. It's going to drop down the 10 times. Why? Because it's responding to the principle that governs the universe. This is because gravity always works, just as all principles always work. Why should you rely on principle? Because principle always works. Principles are not respecter of anybody. It doesn't care if you are a black, it doesn't care if you're white, it doesn't care if you are a woman, it doesn't care if you are a man. Principle does not care if you are tall, it doesn't care if you are short. Once you respond to a governing principle, it must answer directly to you. Principles does not discriminate, and all principles work the same for everybody. Principle give us the ability to have an expectation. An expectation is the center of action. For example, you only click this video because you believe, you expect that you are going to get some information that will be useful to you. So your expectation is the reason that brought you into action by clicking this video today. Also understand that all work works. If it's not working for you now, be happy that it's working on you, and eventually you'll be the one with whom it can work for. And also know that the master key for you to earn is learning. Now, the purpose for learning is not just for you to know, the purpose for learning is mastery. Once you master the thing that you're doing, you will see that you will effortlessly create results, and you will become the person who can eventually do it. I appreciate you for staying this long. In case you find this video valuable in any way, kindly hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and also share. Thank you, and hope to see you in our next video.